Alright, we are now moving on to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, the unrated cut that is too shocking for theaters, which that statement is kind of bold. I think it would just, truthfully, it just depends on the depends on what your threshold of shocking is. Just depends on the person. So this is the prequel to the 2003 remake, and the one thing I will say that I really like about these movies, these two films, is that there's great continuity. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original series of movies, the continuity is absolute. I'm just gonna say it. The continuity is non-existent. The only film that I think that feels somewhat canonically connected to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film is Part 2. That somewhat feels canonically connected. And then after that, continuity is just thrown out the window with Part 3 and Next Generation and 3D and Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Netflix movie. Yeah, they're just not the greatest at maintaining continuity. But the reboot timeline, I think, does a great job. So this is the film when I see rankings, I always see this movie at the bottom of people's list. They always say it's not as good as the remake. It's a cash grab. What do I think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning? Do I think that it's better than the remake? Absolutely. I think this is a better film than the remake in every sense of the word. I think this is a better Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, this to me feels like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and truthfully, this is the only film outside of the original that I would say feels like a true Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. And sure, it's formulaic. It's a formulaic Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Kids get fucking they get in a bad situation, they're confronted by the cannibals, dinner scene, chase scene, movie ends. I get it. And I think that's why I gravitate towards this film. I don't want to say it feels like the original, because stylistically it's not this. Stylistically it's more like this film. But there's just always been something I really, really dug about this movie. It's very, very, I guess with the pacing, it's so quick. This movie you get in, the movie does what it needs to do, it gets you the fuck out. There's a lot of people that don't like prequels, and because of how the last film ended, like I said, they shot themselves in the foot. They couldn't do a sequel. But there was a demand to see more of the Hewitt family. And a prequel was the only way they could. And a lot of people's biggest complaint is that it answers questions that nobody was asking in the remake. I was asking those questions. Okay? This is the perspective of somebody that likes this movie, and I wanted some answers here. I think the biggest thing that I wanted answered in this movie is how, this Leatherface came to be. I just wanted to see more of this Leatherface. I kind of wanted I wanted some backstory here. And it's the backstory they give you. They could have given you just some bullshit backstory, but they give you something really cool. He's born in the slaughterhouse that he eventually grows up to work in. And it's cool as well to see him working in the slaughterhouse. But he's born, the mother asks for a bathroom break, the dickhead boss denies her. She's, instead of urinating or defecating or whatever, she gives birth to a baby. This baby's deformed, and how do I put this lightly? Instead of taking the baby to a hospital or maybe dropping it off at the local fire department, they put the baby in the trash. And to me, it seems that the Hewitt family finds the baby and they bring it home. And I love this scene where Arlie Ermy is stood in the background in the shadows, and he has the audacity to say that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Just the audacity of him to say that while he stood there in the shadows. Like, there's no visibility to his face. He has stood there completely in the shadows. That's always been funny to me. And then we fast forward into the future, well, into the past, future. You get what I mean. And we see Leatherface working in the slaughterhouse, and that's really fucking cool. This is before he's become Leatherface, and he already has this really cool looking mask on because of his face deformity, and everybody's packing up, leaving town. The slaughterhouse business has gone tits up. Leatherface refuses to leave, and well, they try to and they put it as rudely and indecent. There's just so much indecency with these people. They call him a retard, or they call him, what is it, an animal. And well, the foreman of the slaughterhouse gets, he meets his demise in a very brutal fashion because he insults Leatherface's family, which, truthfully, I don't think that I would, if I was a frail old man that looked like he was on the verge of death at any given moment, I don't think that I would insult a fucking 6'7" titan of a man that has a sledgehammer in his fucking hand with my back turned to him. Not the brightest decision by this old man. He's murdered, and the sheriff of the town is murdered by Arlie Ermy, who, that's how we find out that he is appointed to being the sheriff of that town, is instead of applying or going down to local sheriff's office, he just kills the sheriff, just blows his fucking head off with a shotgun and steals his uniform. That's really cool. That's awesome. That's just, that to me has a Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to it. It's like this southern fried horror. It's just really cool. And then, I really like our main cast of, I don't want to say kids, because these two guys are on their way to Vietnam, but their girlfriends, one of them played by Jordana Brewster, who I think is one of the hottest women on the planet. She is just absolutely stunning. She's so beautiful. Very, very, very pretty chick. So, zero complaints. But they're on their way to the other side of Texas to go re-enlist, and the one brother doesn't want to go. I completely get it. The Vietnam War was a stupid war. Not to get political, I don't really talk politics much, but the Vietnam War was a stupid war. I can maybe understand World War I and World War II. Those were different situations, but this was a stupid, meaningless, pointless war, and I'm completely on the side of Dean, who is the younger brother of Eric, who has been to Vietnam and is going to re-enlist. I'm completely with Dean. It's a stupid war. I would hightail it the fuck out too. And really, I'm a very anti-war, you can call me an anti-war liberal. I would go to war for this country if I believed in the cause. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot down your anti-war, hippie, liberal comment right there. But yeah, and they're met by some bikers. This is kind of one of my problems with the movie. It's not a problem with the movie. I'm not a big fan of the scene because they're driving and they end up pissing these bikers off at the store. But the one biker chick who's hot too, she's dynamite. I like biker chicks, so. Though, I don't think that realistically this would have happened where a biker chick is trying to rob. They're trying to rob the kids, by the way. And she pulls up beside them with a shotgun, and I think what I would have done in that situation is I would have went, ran her ass off the road. Just like that, she's dead. You're not going to come riding up beside me with a fucking shotgun on a motorcycle and tell me to pull over. You're not going to do that to me. But, yeah, like I said, in the plot, I don't mean to go over, the entire plot. I just really like this movie. And I think it's so paced. Everything that's going on is it's fast. Everything's quick. Like, there's some breathing room. Nothing feels rushed by any means. But it's paced well, and then, you know, at this point, the sheriff shows up, blows her fucking head off. Like, doesn't even ask any questions, just comes out. Which, you know, the kids should have known right then and there. I don't think this guy's a cop, because most cops don't just get out and kill people. Well, I guess that you know what, we're not going to get into that. For the film's sake, I think a normal movie cop wouldn't just get out and blow somebody's fucking head off with a shotgun. But, yeah, anyway, moving on from that, they're taken to the Hewitt family, and they're essentially their guests for dinner that night. And I do really like, in this movie, I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie is after he kills the sheriff, and they have the dinner together as a family, and he does that's when he pretty much makes the announcement to the family that going forward, we're going to start eating people. And he goes on his story about, you know, how he did that in, I don't know if his character fought in World War II or Korea, but one of those two wars he obviously fought in, and they had to resort to cannibalism to survive. So he said he did that in the war, so now they're going to do it here. And it, in a fucked up way, or very, very fucked up and disgraceful way, makes sense, considering that there's nothing in town. Everybody's packed up and left town. The slaughterhouse is, like I said, they've gone tits up. And I'm not condoning that anybody ever resort to cannibalism, ever. But it makes sense in this situation for them as complete nutty psychos that they would resort to eating people. And I just like the whole scene where he delivers the announcement that they're going to start eating people, and I like how nobody questions it either. I like that the wife is more concerned about saying grace rather than oh, this is messed up. You're going to go to jail for this. And I guess there's not anybody there to stop him. I mean, they're not going to go to jail. There's nobody there. I guess they're doing what they have to do. You know, I think maybe packing up and moving to the next town probably would have sounded like a more sane and rational option, but, you know, then we don't have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and I'm happy to have this film. It's just a very, very well-paced movie, and Chrissy, played by Jordana Brewster, is actually one of my favorite characters in the franchise. I'd probably tie her with Sally Hardesty. The rest of the characters, Eric, Dean, and I think the other chick's name, I like these guys better than I like the kids in the first or the remake film. I like them better. They're just more likable. They're not total douchebags. You get the one scene where they get into it in the car because Dean's burning the draft card, and like I said, I'm all for that. You know, I'm very passionate about what I believe in. So you get that one scene where they have conflict, and then it's completely resolved, and you get in a situation where Arlie Ermey finds out about the burnt draft card, and he's obviously going to end up killing these guys. So he takes the fall to protect his younger brother. I thought that was just a really nice touch to these characters. It makes them likable. It makes, like, any of these, like, really, to be truthful, other than Jonathan Tucker's character and the Pepper, played by the Book of Shadows chick, I really didn't care if any of those characters died or not. I didn't want to see anything bad happen to these characters in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. So the characters, man, they're just so much better in this film. The scene with the biker when he finds out about his girlfriend, when he goes in the house, this is where we're getting into the kills. The kills are fucking gnarly in this movie. I already talked about the old man at the slaughterhouse gets the sledgehammer to the fucking face. That was gnarly too. That was just brutal. And the sound effect, the metal sound effect, when the sledgehammer makes contact with his head, oh, it's beautiful. In a very, very sick and sadistic way. And, you know, according to most people, horror fans are sick and sadistic, and it's just like heavy metal heads. But whatever, fuck those people that think that. The scene, my favorite kill in the movie, is a tie between Eric's death, where he's strapped to the table, and fucking Leatherface hacks him up with a chainsaw and makes a mask out of his face, while Chrissy is there witnessing the whole thing. But the biker kill. See, the biker chick that the sheriff killed was the girlfriend or the friend of this biker. So he goes in the house, and you know, he gets into a fight with Leatherface. He ends up shooting, I think it was Uncle Monty, because, yeah, he shoots him in the leg, and then they have to fucking cut his legs off. And then Leatherface comes out, and they get into a fight, and I guess the stakes aren't really high there, because they already know Leatherface is going to win. But it was a good, intense fight. And I love this kill, because Leatherface throws this motherfucker on top of the chainsaw that's on the ground. Arlie Ermey goes over and holds him down, and then Leatherface grabs the chainsaw, pull starts it, revs it, and fucking cuts the dude in half upward. And there's just blood squirting at the screen, and it's getting all over the fucking floor, all over the wall, over the ceiling. It's fucking brutal. And he cuts the dude literally in half. It's fucking great. There are some other great kills. I was really disturbed by Bailey's kill, where she's driving away in the truck, and then Leatherface comes up and fucking jams the hook in her chest and yanks her out of the... That looked painful. That looked fucking painful. Dean's kill was very much... Very... It was a more intense version of Jonathan Tucker's kill. Morgan was Jonathan Tucker's character's name in the last film. It was a more intense, bloodier version than that. And then, you know, you get the final kill, Jordana Brewster, who thinks she's going to get away. Then Leatherface pops up in the back seat of the car, jams a chainsaw right through her, and it cuts up her completely cuts up her body. The kills are brutal. This is definitely, I think, probably... I would say that this is probably a gorier installment than the 2022 reboot. I don't know. That's a tough one. I think it's a three-way tie between this one, 3D, and the 2022 movie. I think that's everything that I wanted to cover with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. I think this is just a great movie that I think is unfairly bashed, and I will defend this movie until I go to my fucking grave. I think this is one of the best movies in the franchise. I'd put it in my top 10 horror films probably ever. I just love this fucking movie. And you get people that despise this movie, and you get people that defend the shit out of it. And then you get I've heard people say that they think it's okay, it's not as bad as everybody says it is. It's really not bad at all. I just really like this movie. It's not perfect. There's some negatives. One of them being the stakes aren't as high because it's a prequel and you kind of already know the outcome. But I don't really care about that in this case. It's just a cool flick. It's a cool... How long is this movie? It's a cool 89-minute slasher film. Now, how long is this movie compared to the original? This is a 98-minute movie, so this one's a few minutes shorter. It feels a lot quicker than this film. So I think that they're both good. Well, I think the remake is good, and that's a movie I used to fucking hate. But I think that this movie's fucking great. And you can argue with me in the comments. I love this movie. So what do you guys think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning? It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning now, and I think I need to go to bed. So I'll see you guys later. Peace.